There's no mouth. I'm not losing my mind.
He was so stressed. I don't want anybody to be stressed.
So. Well, I don't know.
Dana, will you go ahead and start the live stream?
Okay, let's try now.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order, and I'm gonna apologize profusely to my fellow board members. For some reason, 71 was closed down and I was at a standstill for a good part of the morning. At this time, I'm gonna ask Megan to go ahead and take roll call
Okay, Julie Spear,
here.
Donnie Lewis,
Here.
Rick Fernandez,
Yeah.
Suzette Tiarina. And she said she was not able to join us today. Donna Montemayor. Here. Lori Hinky. Here. Jenny Yokum. Here. Daniel Guerrero. Daniel Guerrero,
Here. I'm here.
Bradley Miller,
Here.
Ian Shaw,
Here.
and Rick Tisch.
Here.
All right. So for Suzette, I will let the board members know that, there was a death in her family, so if you would, just keep her in your thoughts. And so the reason for this meeting, we have one agenda item, so I'd like to go ahead and before we get too far into it, thank our selection committee. We had Dennis Wiesner, Ann was on there, Lori, Rick, and myself. And so I want to thank them for the work that they did. As far as the interview process and what occurred, we did post, obviously for the ED position, we had a number of candidates. The applications were scored. From that scoring, we then went through a first round of interviews. And then we narrowed it down to 3 candidates and went through a second round of interviews. From that second round of interviews, the selection committee would like to bring forth a candidate. Our candidate is Daniel Carroll. I'm just going to give you a little bit of his background, and then I'm going to open it up for questions and comments. So Daniel is a PharmD. He did graduate from the University of Texas. He has served as a pharmacy tech. He was a member of the U.S. Air Force. He did serve as director of pharmacy for from 2001. He was staff pharmacist at Citizens Medical Center in Victoria from 2001 to 2005, and from 2005 to 2007 as the director of pharmacy. From there, he moved to the Austin area to Cedar Park. He was at Cedar Park Regional from 2007 to 10, where he served as the director of pharmacy. And from there, he went to Seton Family of Hospitals and was there as director of pharmacy. And his current position is at Northwest Hills Surgical Hospital, where he is the CEO of the surgical hospital. They have approximately 100 employees, and with his background, he has experience in running a multi-layered organization, as well as his pharmacy background. I'd like to go ahead and just open it up for questions, comments. This group is not shy.
Really, this is Rick. I guess I can start too, just a little more background. When we interviewed Daniel, I think some of the attributes that were positive about him is his experience working with a board. He's obviously been a CEO of the center he was at, working with physicians, obviously too, having difficult discussions with them, so he's not intimidated by that group. And also, I've been able to lead a larger group of professionals similar to what an agency would need to have. So those are the type of attributes that I thought were to set him apart from the other candidates that we had. I thought was good background for the other board members to hear about that.
Thank you, Rick. Yes,
Well-
Bradley?
I need to ask if this would be a potential conflict of interest because he was my director for a short period of time at Breckenridge Hospital.
I will defer to Megan on that.
Unless you think it's going to cloud your judgment, I don't think it will be.
No, I don't think so, but I thought I'd ask the
But
question.
yes, thank you for letting us know about that.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, Bradley, on hearing this person? What are your thoughts with it?
Well, Danny was, I know him as Danny, but anyway, he was at Seton Shoal Creek, which is a basically a psych, and I don't know, they've changed their focus a couple of times, but he was there for a while, and then we had an opening for a director at Breckenridge Hospital, aka University Medical Center at Breckenridge. When I found out that he was interested, I of course welcomed him, and he said he did a background check of sorts on me, and one reason why he decided to go for the interview was because I was there. I'm just stating it the way he stated it to me, and he came on board. He was dynamic. I thought he was a good, very good director. He had a wife and a baby, newborn baby, unfortunately, he lacked experience with a larger hospital and all the intricacies involved. I do know that the clinical pharmacists that we had on staff at the time basically ran him over. I think if he had either more experience, I'm not sure if he has an MBA or had an MBA at the time, but nonetheless, a good guy. But one of the reasons why he left not too long after he got into the position was that at the time he and his family were living in Lago Vista, and to drive from Lago Vista to Austin on a good day with no traffic, which is unheard of, takes at least an hour, possibly a little longer. And so that was time that he was spending away from his family. I know not too long after he left the hospital, he got this Northwest Surgical Center position. And as far as I know, he's been there ever since. So good guy. I did not know that he was a former tech. And also did not know that he worked at Citizens Hospital in Victoria, which I'm also familiar with. So overall, a good guy. I haven't talked to him since he left. He did send me a LinkedIn congratulations on early retirement, well, on my retirement. And that's the first time I've had any contact with him since he left.
Yeah, I guess to give a timeline, so Breckenridge was 2012 to 2013. So we're looking at 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's been at Northwest Hills since 2013, so ever since that time.
Okay.
Donnie, did you have something?
Well, I was just, when, I really don't know much to ask because I don't know this guy, but what about his management style? I know there's a hospital that he's working with. What did y'all inquire about how he dealt with controversy or issues that might occur with an agency like we have, which is different than where he is now? How'd y'all navigate that?
Lori, you look like you were gonna say something.
I was. So Donnie, part of our, we put together a very deliberate list of questions for both of the interviews. So in the first interview, we had a lot of kind of behavioral questions, situational questions, and we would ask, we asked all of the applicants questions that tried to, explain a situation in which you were in this position. And some of them addressed conflict. We tried to address many of the scenarios that would potentially be encountered at our organization. In the second interview, then we provided, as interview panelist members, we provided additional situational questions kind of based on responses we'd received the first time to try to get to that. And while I don't recall exactly how he responded to the question, I can say that was a question that came up in our interviews, and again, situational type, and we were comfortable. We were very confident with the responses that he gave.
Okay. Well, my other question, maybe Laura, you and Rick can probably, and Julie can tell me about the legislative side. How, he's going to be our face in the legislative arena. Were you confident that he can handle that, or did that come up, or how did you deal with that?
Oh, that definitely came up. There was a lot of discussion about that. And while that's not something that Mr. Carroll has a lot of experience in, he does have experience in addressing groups at a kind of a larger level beyond the pharmacist level, beyond the staff level in the groups that he manages. And I felt like his responses were appropriate in knowing what his limitations are, but also knowing his abilities to get the experience and training that he needs. So no, that's not something he currently has an expertise in. Okay. But if we looked at our applicants and really tried to address what they brought to the table, we were really looking for people who had the ability, the competence, that communication style to go forth and to learn to navigate these situations with the help of, the appropriate mentorship and the appropriate, Megan and Ann and those people on our staff who can help guide them in that.
Okay.
No, and I would say, Donnie, that the overall applicant pool, we didn't find a lot of applicants, and you would expect that have the experience of speaking in the legislature or large groups. We had to look, as Lori said, at their capability to be able to do that. We did find that we felt that was possible, and I know no one was perfect, but I think that was something that was missing in pretty much every applicant, because they haven't really had a chance to do that. So that was something we tried to really kind of find out about with him.
Okay.
Yeah, and Donnie, I guess, I didn't mean to cut you off. I guess one other thing is, we do have a posting currently for a government relations person, which is something we haven't had for quite some time. So this will be something, actually, I guess we've never had one.
Never had one.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's new.
and that was not what she was, but she wasn't. So that, what we will have somebody that will be able to assist with that entire process.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Comments?
Does he still live in Lago Vista?
I'm sorry?
Does he still live in the Lago Vista area?
Yes.
With the potential travel, representing the board, et cetera, both in state and out of state, Was was that topic discussed with him, and what was his reply?
Yeah, so with every single candidate, we addressed the fact that this was an Austin position, and we addressed all of the travel requirements, in state and out. There were no concerns there. I would say that I think that one of the good things, we always have to look for a silver lining, and one of the good things in what we have done over the last 7 months is kind of divided up some of those responsibilities of, going to organizations to speak. And I think that it's good for the board to be out there doing that. So I'm hoping that that's something that we continue a little bit, because, we do want our executive director to be the face of the board, but we also are the face. And so, I think it's good to have that, flexibility when needed.
I'll make this other statement, compared to personality wise, compared to the last executive director. In my opinion, there's a complete 180. Danny is very personable, or at least he was very personable, easy to talk with, understood priorities, basically listen to all the facts before he made a decision. And he did reach out if he didn't know the answer, or was not 100% sure, would reach out to others that had some experience, etc. So the decisions he made were good, and I think being I think he'd be a good candidate for sure.
I do have a question,
Yes, sir.
especially with the review of the previous director and the comments that had been shared from personnel from the staff,
Well,
beyond.
Careful.
yeah,
We're in a public meeting.
Okay. Then I don't have a question. I'll leave it alone.
Julie, I've got a question. I'm sure the salary was discussed. Is he comfortable with that?
we did notify every candidate of what the salary was, and they kept their application in place. To
Okay.
go forward, so.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask the other board members what they thought. Obviously, this is the pharmacist and that's involved in the hospital setting more so than the community setting. And does anybody have any concerns or questions or on that part of it? Because obviously representing the entire group of the community and the public. Does anybody have any concerns or any questions regarding that side of that?
I mean, I would expect that if he's going to be our executive director, he would know that he needs to represent all areas as we do, whether or not we are hospital, community, whatever, like we are here for the citizens of Texas. So I would assume that he has the same philosophy and mentality if you guys passed him through.
Donna, I'm glad that you mentioned that about the citizens of Texas. One of the questions that we asked all of the applicants was, who do you see as your customers and how do you assess your, I don't remember the exact question, but he was really spot on with his response of understanding that the board represents the citizens of Texas. And, it was not every applicant could vocalize it in that way.
Julie, did he list any organizations that he's a member of right now?
I believe he did. I can't recall exactly what all he said, but I feel like there was some discussion about involvement in professional organizations.
Yeah, I know that he is a member of the American Society of Hospital System Pharmacies. He's got several volunteer things that he does as well.
The other thing too, based on what Lori was saying, there was a lot of confusion from the applicants that this is not a role you advocate for in. So that wasn't as highly as, obviously want people involved, but they have to understand that they're not going to be able to advocate for anything. They're here to protect the public. And I think Daniel was one of the ones that had that understanding better than most everybody we interviewed. There was a lot of confusion about what the board's purpose was. And, you know, he really was prepared to and understood what the board's purpose was better than I think most anybody we talked to, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Any other questions, comments? Well, seeing none, I will see if we can. I'll ask for a motion to make an offer.
To approve.
I second that.
I have a motion from Daniel Guerrera and a second from Donnie Lewis that we offer the position to Daniel Carroll. Since we're on video, we'll go ahead and take a roll vote, if that's okay.
Julie Spear,
I can't vote.
Donnie Lewis,
Yes.
Rick Fernandez,
Yes.
Donna Montemayor,
Yes.
Lori Hinkey,
Yes,
Jenny Yokum,
Yes.
Daniel Guerrero,
Yes.
Bradley Miller,
Yes.
Ian Shaw,
Yes.
Rick Tisch.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. At this time, I would like to ask Daniel Carroll to come forward and allow you the ability to meet our candidate.
What do you want me to do?
I think it can be seen
Right
right
by
there.
Dennis.
Good morning.
So, members of the board, this is Daniel Carroll. We, at this time, have a motion to make him an offer. I don't know if you have anything you want to address or say.
Me?
You, them, both.
Yeah, I can
I'll
address,
start with you.
I can address all of this if you like. I do live in La Vista. Part of the deal, like Brad said, we had a son, he was brand new and really, really difficult. And that job at Brackenridge was really, really difficult. It was 12-hour-a-day job, easy. And that boy would not be quiet. He's 10 now and he's a lot easier. So that was a really big part of it, is I had to find some sort of balance. That's my biggest regret, or when I look back at things I should have done differently, that was probably it. Sorry. And the drive was one of my family says that drive, and I'm like, this is different now. I'm in a different spot than I was 10 years ago. So that's that. Leadership style. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, it was servant leadership. And like Brad said, I am somebody who tries to listen to all sides. And, but really what I've sort of, as a CEO of a hospital, it's quite a bit different. You know, you have lots of different people coming at you from different directions. And really it's value-based is really what I try to do. Lead through our values, make sure we understand our values, and listen, create a safe space, and be supportive. That's really where we are. The legislative side, again, like I really appreciate any kind of help I can get with that. I can't imagine anybody coming into this role has experience with that. So it's kind of good to hear that I'm not the only one. Brad, I appreciate the the comments, the second piece of the comments, because I was like, wow. And I did leave hastily, but it was a personal decision I had to make back then for the sake of my family. Salary, it's the salary, you know what I mean? It's part of, I think, the service, the ability to provide this service or to work with such a unique situation, unique position. That's the salary that comes with it. So that's part of it. I'm good with that. The hospital versus retail, I don't remember who asked that question. That's a really good question because I've asked myself that same question. And there are some things, I worked retail back in the day, and I've always been with hospital because that's what I like. And I feel like that's what my experience has always been. But I get the retail side of it and the gravity of what we're doing there. And I know that a lot of you guys have that experience, and I know that the board has, you know, I mean, we make good decisions for all sides of pharmacy. I mean, this is pharmacy, it's not just hospital pharmacy. And the board's responsibility. Our responsibility is to protect the public. That's the number one responsibility. You know, we want to promote pharmacy and we want to do right by the profession, but we have to protect the public. And every decision, everything that I do will be in the best interest of the board to protect the public. And I promise you, you'll get my best every day. So that's pretty much what I have to say.
All right. So the offer is verified. We will.
Daniel, do you want to accept the offer?
I will accept the offer.
All right.
Thank you. I didn't know if that's my turn. So, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, okay. I was gonna come back around to it. At this time, you know, we do know that Daniel needs to give his current employer notice. We have our plan is 30 days. You know, with the board's blessing, we will continue with some of the practices that we have in place now with you know, our weekly staff meetings with me in attendance. We'll start with maybe a little bit of me taking lead, and then we'll transition it over. And we've got a lot of good things going on. You know, our big thing right now that we're in our new fiscal year, is posting and filling for positions. So it will, that will definitely get us to where we need to be with our new executive director in place. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And again, to the entire committee, selection committee, thank you profusely for all the time that you spent and you know, the deliberations that you had, and so the entire board for you know, everything that you've done through this transition period. And you know, the thing is that you know, I personally want to thank Megan. Megan's taken the yeoman's share with both you know, with both positions, but our entire staff, the staff has done a tremendous job. So I want to make sure that they hear how thankful we are for the job that they have all done. So if there is.
Oh, Megan,
yes,
Julie, I want to say one thing before we leave.
yes, sir.
I want to say thank you to Julie for this, 7 months of pretty intense extra work. And I know that, and I know we tried to help on the board side, but thank you on behalf of myself, but I think the board would agree. Secondly, of course, Megan and Daniel, I want to say something to you, that we are on your side, and we are going to help you in this position. Whatever you need, you can call on us, and that's what we want to do. So feel free to reach out to any of us, and we will do our part to make your transition good and make this agency better than it ever has been.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Julia, one more thing. I just wanted to thank Dennis and Ann. Their insight to us as board members was
Yes.
outstanding. I am so happy that they were able to support, and the feedback that they both gave us and the questions they asked, I think made the process so much better. I feel so much more comfortable with everything based on them helping us. I know Lori will agree that was their help was very invaluable.
Thank you.
Yes, I totally agree. And I will give Lori credit because Lori was the one that kind of whispered in my ear one day. At what actually she has said, I think that it would be really good if we had somebody from staff on, and that was a very, very valuable suggestion. And I was glad we could make that happen. All right. Seeing that there is nothing else on the agenda, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
I have a motion from Donnie and I have a second from Rick Tisch. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. This meeting's adjourned and I thank you all for your time and for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, everybody.